A quick thing to note, another really big trend is obviously AI. With AI, a lot of jobs are becoming redundant. So we're seeing a lot of content writers, designers, video editors, those types of roles also being cut back. And so many of those individuals are now left without jobs too. So it's quite an interesting time right now in the market.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back. It is another week, and another week means another episode. As usual, I'm your intrepid host, Andrew Dupe, Chief Relationship Officer, and I have a great guest with me today. I have with me Anna Shcherbyna. Now, Anna and I have talked several times, and I really want to give you a good introduction for her. Anna is originally from Ukraine, so Slava Ukraini, and is currently based out of Barcelona. She has over 11 years of experience in operations, HR, recruitment for both major companies and online businesses. She's personally conducted thousands of interviews and has helped 6 to 9 figure companies hire their top executives. So in that capacity, Anna is the CEO of Remotivate, a recruitment agency that helps remote-friendly companies hire top leadership via affordable done-for-you service. She also specializes in HR services to support small to medium businesses in retaining and managing their staff effortlessly. Anna, it is great to see you again. Always a pleasure to have you. So that's a pretty good introduction to who you are and what you do, but tell our audience a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I appreciate the intro, Andrew. And yes, it's so good to chat with you again. Well, as you touched on it, I've been in the ops and recruitment space for over 11 years. I work with all kinds of companies. I actually never have hired for an in-person position in like my entire career. It's always been remote hiring. Now, everything that I've ever done has been through online, and that's given me definitely an edge, I would say, when it comes to recruitment. But because of my background in operations, it just so happened that so many companies came to me and said, can you just clone yourself? Can we have a clone of you? And so what ended up happening is we've ended up hiring a lot of operations experts, and then that expanded into other executive positions. But we are probably the only executive search agency that focuses on remote roles. Try to Google it. I don't think you'll find another company like us. But recently, we've also incorporated HR services, since many of the companies we hire for definitely need that support, especially now more than ever with what's happening in the market.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something that we're gonna touch on a little bit. I want to start with the HR services in regards to remote. So, tell us a little bit about how the world has changed just in the last couple of years in this field of actually remote services, remote hiring, and remote business.
I mean, obviously with COVID, things changed in the sense that so many candidates went remote, and it was an employees market, right? There were so many people, but everybody needed remote staff. Like everybody was going after online hiring, remote hiring. And many people even talked to me and said, Anna, this must be the best time in your business. But what ended up happening is that now more and more companies have gone back to hybrid, and that's left a lot of candidates in the remote space without a job. So companies went back, but candidates did not. So one of the biggest takeaways, I think, even from this conversation will be that for anyone out there looking to hire right now is like the prime time, because there's so many incredible candidates that are looking to work in the remote space. And it's definitely something a lot of companies are no longer providing. So that's a huge change, I would say.
Yeah, and that's actually why I was kind of bringing that up, because I follow the news. I look at how the market's going right now. And yeah, there are a lot of attempts to kind of put the remote genie back in the bottle by some companies that
it's not
like
working though.
To go back to the office system, and that's not necessarily going to be something they're going to easily be able to do, is it?
Yeah, it is absolutely not. And it's complicated, because I think what's happening is companies are saying, hey, we're going back into the office, but we're also cutting our staff. So what we've seen in the last year is that a lot of people have started firing, not hiring. And so candidates are stuck in this kind of no man's land where they want to do remote work and they don't want to compromise on that, but there's almost no positions open, or very few positions open. And the higher up you go, the more of a leadership role you're trying to apply for, the less work there is. A quick thing to note, another really big trend is obviously AI. With AI, a lot of jobs are becoming redundant. So we're seeing a lot of content writers, designers, video editors, those types of roles also being cut back. And so many of those individuals are now left without jobs too. So it's quite an interesting time right now in the market.
So if you're in business and you're in a situation where, there's a lot of people that are struggling right now, and
yes.
yeah, how do you begin to actually approach the idea of, how much do I go remote? How much do I stay in office? Do I have to downsize? That's kind of where I think a lot of businesses are right now, struggling with those concepts of what they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now, because the market is so unpredictable, a lot of companies are optimizing, downsizing and optimizing. They're making their teams more lean. And I can confirm that for our team as well. We've had to become more lean. And this is just a common trend around so many companies. But that's where the HR aspect comes in. A lot of companies in the past, they would just hire a ton of people. They would be churn rate. People would come and go every 3, 6, 12 months. And, you wouldn't really be worried about that. But right now, you have limited team capacity. You want to get more lean, but a part of being lean is being efficient. And to be efficient, you need to run a tight ship. So you don't have the resources to just hire, fire, onboard, offboard. That's a lot of resources and time. So what that means is you really have to dig into the HR aspects, which means leading your team successfully, training your current staff, making sure that your team is happy and productive, that you have like KPIs and performance metrics, that you're offering good benefits. Now, it seems counterintuitive because it's like, well, why should we care right now? We can just go ahead and hire another person. But because you're trying to be more lean, you have less resources to dedicate to the hiring process. So doubling down on that HR aspect, yes, it's a little bit of time and effort. And of course, you can outsource it. But I think now is the time for companies to be lean and optimize, especially with all the tools that they have at their disposal.
Right. And I think I like that idea of being lean and not necessarily like cutting everything down to the bone, because you don't want to constantly have a churn. You don't want to let go of your people that you've trained and put resources into for many, many years, only then to later on when things get better, well, you need those positions filled back. And you might have lost that person that you had put so much into for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. And something to add here is that, HR, when people think about HR, they're thinking of payroll and compliance. And with a lot of companies that work online or remote, they're like, yeah, great. I work with an EOR, or I already have a contractor agreement. I pay them through Wise or whatever it is, PayPal. But HR is actually a lot more than that. There's a lot of soft skills involved in HR that a lot of business owners, because there's not like a direct ROI, they think, well, why invest in that? But I think it's so vital because, again, it comes back to that longevity piece that you talked about. Why spend all this time training your staff, onboarding your staff, so then they just leave in 3 months? And that's a huge amount of resources that it's going to waste. So one of my biggest recommendations with what is happening in the market right now is, one, of course, becoming more lean, but two, sustainability. And that means focusing on improving benefits, improving communication within the team. And when I say communication, I mean adding things like happy hours and, fun activities. In my team, we do challenges. So we used to do, like gym challenges and, get healthy challenges, cooking challenges. And it just brings us all together. And the thing is, those little soft skills, those little things that are not directly work related, actually build culture and loyalty. People love to be able to contribute to a company that they feel happy working for, that they feel engaged in. And so I would really challenge anybody listening to this, any business owner, whether they have hybrid, in-person, remote, ultimately engage with your staff, and you're going to save yourself so much time and effort down the road in terms of rehiring.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a sometimes a missing piece that people think about when they're looking at the idea of team morale. And when you have issues where you're going to have to get lean, where people are going to have to get hours cut, when occasionally heads get cut, morale drops catastrophically when that happens, basically no matter what you do, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I can speak to my own personal experience. And the last couple of months, we've also been experiencing this and having to be a little bit more lean. But I can tell you this because of the amount of investment we've made in our culture. And again, we do the happy hours, we connect, we're very honest and upfront with our team. We don't hide information. We're like, hey, here's what's going on in the business. You guys should know about this. We're very inclusive in terms of open communication and transparency. Even during the hard times this summer, everybody was absolutely like, Anna, we have your back. We're in this. We love Remotivate. We love working here. Like, no matter what, let us know what we can do to support you and this business because we really love being here. And that's the thing, when you invest in that and a difficult time does come around, like it is hitting right now, a lot of companies, investing in that cultural piece is going to make a huge difference to sustainability and making sure your company and team survives.
So, what are a few ideas just off the top of your head that you can have for businesses that are, facing these kind of problems right now? I mean, we've had some ideas of happy hour, we've had some ideas of making sure that the team morale is put together. But, what are some other things that a business can do to either try to lean or try to, I hate that word downsize, but use downsizing and still be able to maintain their internal consistency, efficiency, and keep everybody happy and on task?
Absolutely. So there's a couple things that come to mind. Well, one, to become more lean, you're going to need to do an audit, right? You need to understand who is really vital to the business and who is there maybe not bringing enough of value, or they're not successful in their position. And that doesn't mean they're a bad employee, but it just means that they might do better elsewhere, right? So you do need to do an internal audit, whether that's by yourself, hiring somebody else externally to do an audit, hiring an agency like ourselves. So it just depends, but I would definitely start with that audit piece. Number two is really being honest, right? So talking to every person on your team, you want to be honest and saying, hey, like, here is the situation at hand. Let's talk about this. Do you feel like you're successful here? Really digging into their role and do they feel like they're a vital part of the team? And if they don't feel like they're vital, and let's say you have figured out the few people that you're going to need to let go of, it's supporting them even in that process. Of course, if you've built a great relationship. So one thing that I did, for example, with a couple of people that we had to let go of, is I went to my communities and I said, hey, I have these amazing people that I've worked with. I can vouch for them. They've brought amazing impact. We just can no longer continue working because of where we're at in the business. And I want to be honest, like, the reaction was amazing because people were like, yes, of course, we'd love to get on a call with them. We'd love to have a conversation. And so you can support people even as they're offboarding when you need to make those decisions. And then the rest of your team is able to see that and be like, wow, like, I'm not just going to be, like, cut loose and good luck with that. So that's kind of one of the things. The other thing that could really contribute is little benefits. Now, when people think of benefits, they think of something extremely expensive, right? Like health insurance, you think 401k, you think like, like a pension fund. Like there's just like all of these big, scary things that people think about when it comes to benefits. But actually, there's little hacks that you can implement. Again, like I said, challenges in the business that have some sort of rewards. That's a really fun one. So when we did a gym challenge, whoever logged in the most like recorded gym activities, we would buy a couple of like gym equipment or something like that. So that was a really fun one. The other thing you can do is offer paying for a co-working. Again, co-workings are pretty affordable in most countries. And so offering to cover something as little as a co-working fee can make a huge difference, right? And the last thing I will mention, there's obviously benefits. When it comes to benefits, the list is long. But one thing that really comes to mind is an app called Juno. I don't know if you've heard of it, but what they do is you set a budget, it could be like $50 a month for every team member or like some of the team members, and they can go in and pick what they want. And it could be like Juno offers all kinds of different things. So you can get supplements, you can get a massage, you can like spend it on health or wellness or like a movie subscription. So having little things like that where it doesn't cost the company too much, but it does really improve morale and culture building within the team. So that's just a few things.
Yeah. And I like that idea that the business should be involved in at least trying to place someone in another position. And that's kind of where I was leading it to is, how much of a role do you take in helping your employees get to the next job? Because I think when a lot of business leaders think downsizing or think leaning, the immediate thought they have, especially in the United States, is just, okay, severance and unemployment. That's their
Good
parachute.
luck.
And good luck. Yeah.
Right.
And good luck. And I've been there. I think everybody on a long enough timeline in business, we all have. But, you don't necessarily have those parachutes in remote, do you?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of companies can't afford like severance packages, especially remote
Right.
small to medium businesses. And my recommendation only stands if you truly believe that candidate was amazing, but for whatever reason, maybe your marketing is shutting down and you can't afford to spend money on marketing, right? This just an example, or your team is downsizing, you don't need 5 account managers. So if the people that you're recommending you genuinely believe in, then it's going to be very easy to recommend, and you'll help them, especially within a community. If it comes from a referral, placing those people will be very easy. And I think a lot of business owners, and this is something to note, they're really afraid of sometimes firing. Like firing is seen as this really scary thing because you feel like you're letting somebody down. But what I challenge all of my clients to do is when you are firing, think about it as you giving them an opportunity to find something better and greater, a place where they get to expand and grow in a way that they can't do with you. So you are absolutely helping them. It doesn't come from a bad or negative place. It's just that they deserve to be in a place where they can thrive, and that no longer is with you.
All right, absolutely. So what other resources should a business leader be looking at, especially if it's a small business? I mean, we kind of we have a lot of clients that we work with that are in the medium to large business, but you might hear somebody say, well, Anna, what do I do as a small business owner? How do I do it with my very small company that I founded that's only just out of a startup? And I don't have a big HR department, and I don't have a massive list that I can refer to. How do they help if they have to let someone go that they've had for a long time, or lean their hours to the point where they need to try and get them more?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. One, they can obviously recommend a recommendation or a reference letter, right? So that's something that they can obviously do as a candidate is applying to different jobs. They can add a recommendation to their LinkedIn profile. They don't necessarily have to find them another job. It could just be as simple as, hey, I'll provide you a recommendation if needed, as well as posting on social media. I feel like most people are on LinkedIn these days, and just even posting to your network saying, hey, I have this amazing candidate or this person on my team that I couldn't hold on to and I have to let go of. But when it comes to HR services, I really divide it into 3, right? So it's that first is that audit piece, making sure to get lean. That second piece is, of course, letting the people that, no longer are a fit or they're not serving the business to its fullest, letting them go. And then that final piece is really making sure that every single person that you have left on the team is taken care of, whether that's continuous education and training, making sure that they're in the right place, making sure that there are clear KPIs or performance metrics, because ultimately, if they have a goal in mind and it's very clear, they're going to be able to succeed that much better. So you might actually reach company goals faster by having a smaller team than when companies are a little bit more bloated and it's harder to kind of manage all of those people and kind of performance metrics.
Gotcha. So a little bit about you. You have a heck of a work ethic. It comes off, as we have these kind of conversations. What are things that inspire you as the head of your team, the person that's putting everything together? What are the things that motivate instead of remotivate? What are the things that motivate Anna on a daily basis that come in and do what you do to the absolute best that you can do it?
Absolutely. One of the biggest, I would say 2 things. One, I love making a difference. So if the service I'm providing is making a difference, it fuels me. Like I show up and wake up every day, good mood or not, because I know that I'm doing something that helps others, makes a difference, changes companies, sometimes even changes lives. And then on the other side, one of the purposes that I have found out of running a business that I didn't expect was showing up for my team, right? Setting an example, showing up, taking care of them, because ultimately as a business owner, you're creating opportunities for others and creating opportunities for them to grow, thrive, support their team. And honestly, those 2 things, like making a difference for my clients as well as for my team, it really helps me wake up in the morning and show up to the best of my abilities.
That's kind of what I was getting to. The leadership position isn't just about making money. It's not just about finding the thing that's going to, I mean, obviously that's important for any business. That's your ultimate goal, but it's a leadership position is as much about actually being able to educate, teach it, to leave something with your employees, and sometimes to help them take their move to the next level. So
Yeah.
what is something that inspires you about being a leader, about leadership?
It's the ability to create change. I think when you're in a role that's more of an executor, I mean, yes, some of the things you do definitely moves the needle forward. But I think leadership means you have the power to create change that I think at lower levels, like whether you're in a junior position or a mid-level position, that change is not as strong or as big in terms of the influence you have. And I feel like, managing an entire team, being a leader, being a manager, it means you have, well, one, you have the ability to create large change. And then two, you get to be creative. And I think a lot of people don't realize that a good leader is also creative and innovative. They're creative about how they approach coaching and training. They're creative about engagement. They're creative about bringing results for a business. And that creativity, where every single day I have a new problem that I have to figure out, and I have it's like, oh, this is completely new. Like I've been in this space for, as I said, like over 11 years. And I swear every single day I am just mind boggled. There's like something new that comes up and it's so fun. Now, that's why I also talk about being a leader isn't for everybody. And you really, when you're hiring for a leader, you need somebody who loves that, being challenged, being excited, having to constantly deal with new challenges that they've never experienced before. But you got to love it. And it definitely, like, I'm personally addicted. I love when new stuff comes up. I'm like, okay, what are you going to throw at me today?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because not every single person has that desire to be a leader. A lot of people just have the mentality, and there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, you need the kind of people that really just want to knuckle down and do the work that's in front of them.
Yes.
And that's what they're extremely good at. So you should not, as a leader, you should be able to recognize when your people are inclined for leadership positions or when they're inclined for not, when they work better outside of that. I think we sometimes force people into the kind of square pegs in the wrong hole sometimes, don't we?
Absolutely. I think this is something I talk about with a lot of my clients as well. When people are looking to hire for a leadership position, I ask them, have you looked internally? Now that sounds counterintuitive because it sounds like I'm not selling myself. But for me, the goal is to have the best outcome for the client. And sometimes you have amazing people within your own business. And I always challenge our clients to look within first. And a lot of people ask me, but how do I know if somebody has that leadership potential? And the answer to this is, have they taken on more than you've given them? Right? You can always tell a great leader because they have always stepped up. You've given them, A, B, and then they decided to do C. You've given them B, C, they've taken on D. And you're just like, okay, you want more clearly, right? So there are people that are naturally hungry. And in my book, those people deserve to continuously grow and step up and develop their abilities. It's a conversation to have. So maybe you've seen that within your team. It doesn't automatically mean that person wants to go into leadership position, but it's definitely worth a conversation because honestly, even within my own business, I've hired for operations roles in the past, but the person who ended up stepping into that role was somebody internally that we hired that started out completely not in that position, but they kept stepping up and stepping up. And at some point they were doing more than, let's say, the operations person was doing. I'm like, wait a second, something's weird here. We got to switch this up a little bit. And you have to really watch that. And that's part of HR as well, is seeing the potential that people have to step up, recognizing that, nurturing that, because if you can nurture that, as they grow, the business grows. So something I always say is take care of your team and your team takes care of the business. So
absolutely. All right. Anna, as we kind of start to wrap up a little bit here, I always have a little segment at the end where we kind of just ask something that's a golden nugget, something that we haven't really touched on that you feel like any of our listeners who mostly are CEOs, entrepreneurs, so they're business people, that you're talking their language. What is something that we haven't talked on that they absolutely can use just right away, plug in and go? Easy question, right?
It's tough. I'm trying to think what would be really valuable. I mean, one of the biggest things I talk about that I think is actually very valuable is a mindset shift. So looking at it as at employees as, kind of like children in the house, right? So it's your house. You've invited, these kids into your house. But for them to thrive, as with kids, you really need to invest, right? You need to invest in discipline, in making clear expectations in the house, in making sure they know what success looks like, creating structure for them. And it's weird because you never think of that analogy, but if you actually think about your employees as like kids within your house and what they need to succeed, it really translates, right? So you can't just be like, okay, come on in, good luck, you'll figure it out. Right. So think about everything from onboarding to like once they graduate and offboarding. And, there's all of these little things. So that's a little gold nugget of really seeing it from that perspective of what does somebody in your home need to succeed? And that's kind of translatable in what you need to invest in an employee for them to be successful as well.
Wonderful. Well, Anna, how can our audience find out more about you?
Absolutely. So they can email me, Anna N at letsremotivate.com. I'm on LinkedIn. Hopefully we'll provide my last name because it's very complicated, but I am on LinkedIn.
I know how that feels.
If you put Anna Let's Remotivate or Anna Remotivate, it'll come up, but LinkedIn is a fantastic way to reach out, email, and of course our website, letsremotivate.com. If you book a call through there, it does go directly to my calendar.
Wonderful. All right. Well, Anna, it was a pleasure speaking to you yet again, and hopefully we'll continue to speak even more in the future. And we wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, Andrew. It was a pleasure.